Last night, beginning in Dallas, Jaylen Brown had 33. Celtics beat the Mavs 110-100. Cooper Flagg had 36 in the loss. He becomes the first teenager in NBA history with 3 straight 30-point games. He's also the first rookie to average 35 points while shooting 55% from the floor over any 3-game span since Michael Jordan did it in 1985. Meanwhile, blockbuster trade in the league ahead of the deadline. Grizzlies appear to be tearing it down. They traded Jaren Jackson Jr. to the Jazz, part of an 8-player deal. 3 first-round picks headed back to Memphis. Memphis, of course, may not be done wheeling and dealing. We'll get to the Ja Morant of it all in a minute. And then speaking of trade talk, the Warriors played last night without Steph Curry. They got blown out by the Sixers in what might have been Draymond Green's last game with Golden State. Sources telling ESPN that Draymond's name has come up in active trade conversations, putting a 14-year run with the franchise in jeopardy. Here was Draymond asked about it last night. I think the right way to feel. Again, Iman Shumpert and Brian Windhorst with us. Klay Thompson not finishing his career as a Warrior. A lot of greats don't finish their careers with the teams for which they will always be remembered. Windy, is Draymond Green about to become one of those? Is he going to get traded between now and tomorrow afternoon?
I think it's probably still, I would say, unlikely, but the Warriors feel it's enough of a situation that they came to him and let him know. And I would call this sort of a conscious uncoupling, to use modern verbiage. And Draymond is understanding of it. They don't want to surprise him. He is in the offer to the Milwaukee Bucks that is out on the table, and Draymond has taken action on himself. If he were traded, his plan would not be to remain in Milwaukee. He would want to be moved on. A team that would be possible if he were traded, and I can't emphasize the number of ifs I've said enough before I say this, but the Los Angeles Lakers would be a team he would have interest in, and they would have interest in him. But that would require the Bucks to take action on Giannis. What I think is interesting is they have now crossed the Rubicon here with Draymond Green. If he is not traded by tomorrow, it would not surprise me if these talks were revisited in the summer in the last year of his contract, whether it would be in another Giannis offer or somewhere else. And I think that's where we're getting to in this story. Okay, so understanding that there are 6 or 7 ifs along the way, Iman Shumpert, I'm still interested. You put Draymond Green on these Lakers, what do they become?
I don't know what they become right away, but I do know that Draymond Green has an underrated basketball mind. I know we get caught up in the antics, we get caught up in the funny fouls, some of the quotes after the game. But when you start talking about a big man that figured out a way to dominate the game, defensively, grabbing rebounds, and then the ability to carry the threat of being a willing passer at the 4. Draymond Green did all those things. I played against that Warriors team that seemed like such a headache, and you focused on all the other guys, but when you took out Draymond Green for that, what was that game 4 or that game 5, we got to see how much of a hole he leaves in the lineup when he's not around. So make no mistake that Draymond Green has value. Does he have it at this age? We're going to see if he goes over there to be a Laker. But I think that Draymond, just having the basketball knowledge he has and the tools and gifts that he has, it's going to be kind of exciting to see him wear a different uniform.
Oh, we know he and LeBron are longtime friends. Seen them traveling all over Europe together. That would be something to watch. All right, Windy, let's run through a couple others. We mentioned the Memphis starting to disassemble its roster. The obvious next stop is Ja Morant. What do we expect there?
Yeah, so if you look at what they did with Desmond Bane last summer and you look at this trade, they have picked up 7 first-round picks and they've cleared over $300 million off of their books. That removes the pressure to really get any sort of meaningful return for Ja Morant, which is good because his value is not high out there. They can now shift if they want, instead of trying to trade him for value, to try to trade him and use him basically as money in a contract, but they would take on future money to get assets. This is an opportunity out there for somebody to not only buy low on Ja Morant, but also offload toxic assets as a part of getting Ja Morant. Will any team step up in the next 24 hours? That's what we're going to see. This is a player that is potentially a steal, but there's a lot of baggage that comes along with it.
For sure. There was a moment in time, Iman Shumpert, where I thought, and many thought, Ja Morant was on the verge of becoming one of the real faces of the NBA. That time feels like a very long time ago. Do you think he can recapture that? Could he wind up reclaiming whatever it is it appeared at one point he was certain to be?
Yeah, I think he does. I think the gift and the curse of the whole situation is Ja Morant's woes started off the floor. Nobody really had a problem with the spark plug of offense, the athleticism. It was just an off-the-floor thing. So I think getting him out of this situation that's run its course, if you can get him somewhere else, especially if it's in the right organization for him to learn and for him to calm down and just take a look at things from a different perspective, I think it goes right back into his development, and we see a different Ja Morant, but I hope we see the same Ja Morant at the same time.
Yeah, the talent is so extraordinary. Guys, stay close by. Again, we're working
all with aggressive offers. There have been counter offers that have been made this week, but will an offer come and meet that criteria? Everyone in the NBA is waiting on this.
Yeah, you'll see if Giannis is down to go to wherever ends up coming up with the right capital. Shams, we appreciate it as always, brother. So let's dig into these trades with NBA analyst Iman Shumpert now here. Now, when you heard Shams drop the news that Harden was heading to Cleveland for Darius Garland in a second, what do you think of that fit as it stands?
Well, initially, it was just us previewing the thought. And when I previewed the thought, didn't like it. Now that it's happened and we're starting to weigh the positives and negatives, one thing that we can see is that James Harden makes his bigs better. With having Jared Allen out there, sometimes getting lost in the fold, Evan Mobley, who's one of those guys you want to turn his aggressiveness up, James Harden is the right guy for that. As far as Donovan Mitchell and his relationship, I think that the ball dominating, as long as they can figure that out, and they're going to have to figure it out quick if they want to make a push this year, the loss of DeAndre Hunter, I think, hurts their defense, and I never wanted to see that happen for the Cavs because the Cavs in previous years have hung their hat on the defensive end. And, you know, seeing James Harden come over there, I know it takes a hit, but right now we're just going to have to lean into his playoff experience, and hopefully he can clean up that turnover column in the later rounds in the playoffs.
And see if they can make it a track meet and win that thing offensively. We got a couple of, since Christmas Day, LeBron, Luka, and Austin Reeves on the floor at the same time, Shump. With this big three now getting healthy, what kind of postseason expectations are we comfortable placing on the Lake Show?
I don't have them going too far in the playoffs. It's just a tough Western Conference, and you know, Bron is 41. I'm excited for him. I think that it's all well and good. This is the Brooklyn Nets. You know, they fare well. I don't see them fare well. You know, of course, I'm going to have to adjust that statement because Reeves was hurt. But they're going to have to fare well against some, you know, higher caliber teams with some higher power scoring going on. They're a high scoring team, and they're guys that have been there before. They were just having a good time in New York. That's all I see from this game. Is it a lot of fun to watch? Yes, it's a lot of fun to watch, but I think that when we start talking about playoff basketball, they all know that they're going to have to look in the mirror and change things up a little bit. You know, come together a little bit, figure something out, hang their hats on the defensive end.
No question about that. And I know your Bears didn't quite make the Super Bowl, Shump, but look, we
still
you got to
say it. I knew you was going to do it.
Listen, it's just love, dog. We transition into the Super Bowl next, man. Appreciate you.